Hey everybody, don't forget to read the disclaimer, and remember that my Patreon supporters got to see preview images, work in progress images, and high resolution images of the completed toy. If you want to join them, the link for that will be in the disclaimer right below. Hello my watchers, this is Wake Angel 2001, and now that commissions are reopened, let's go back to an old favorite, SATAMfanFF, who wanted me to make him a SATAM Tails figure. Yes, you may remember that last year SATAMfanFF had me make him a SATAM styled Sonic and Sally. Well, now we're adding Tails to the mix. And if I might flex, I drew out my little birthday cake topper that had a Tails that was sculpted to look as he did in the Saturday morning cartoon from back then. Of course, he used the video game accurate colors, which of course means more orange, and the custom I'm making is going to be using more earth tones like the cartoon did, but you know, that's just a detail. So I figured you guys could have figured that out by yourselves. Okay, so the base toy had to be something short and pudgy, and would be short and pudgy standing next to a classic Sonic figure by Tomy. So we looked long and hard and found this Patrick Star from Mega Bloks, or I guess it would be Mega Constructs. I don't know when this figure was made, so when it was made, it depends on whether it's called Mega Bloks or Mega Constructs. That's besides the point. So let's take it apart and convert it into a Tails figure. The first thing I did was make the shoes. In the Saturday morning cartoon, Tails' shoes were significantly more round and flat than they are in the games. Everybody has like pointy elf feet in the video games, but in the cartoon, his feet were actually, you know, shaped like feet. The body is actually turned around. I used Patrick's back to be the front of the figure because his pudgy belly actually makes better for the slope of Tails' back, you know. So yeah, like the different shaped chest tuft, and I also sanded away the shorts so that I could plug, when I plug the legs back in, they'd be like skinny, like the tiny little skinny legs that Tails has in the cartoon, but they would you know, still be securely in place. With a quick paint job, that is the torso. And now I get to draw out this little Tails minifigure. Some of my longtime watchers will remember years ago when I made a classic Knuckles figure, back when it became clear that Jazzwares wouldn't be making one, and Tomy didn't have the license yet, so we didn't know they were gonna. So I bought this little set that came with minifigures of most of the Sonic cast, and I used the Knuckles figure from there to use the head to make classic Knuckles. Now I got the Tails figure from there, which I'm going to use to make this SATAM Tails. As you can see, I cut the hands off and attached them to the ends of Patrick Star's arms. The little connector point is still there, so he still has wrist articulation. And I cut the tails off and painted them in the earth tones from the cartoon so I could stick on back there. That was the simple part. Now here's the complicated part with the head. Okay, so I'm not just going to stick this little Tails head onto this body. First of all, it's too small. And second of all, it's a video game accurate version of Tails' head, so it's not going to work for the Saturday morning. But it doesn't really work for the video game version either. Yeah, because if you look at his cheek tufts, you find that they're really swept back, and they go all the way to the back of his head. And that's not how classic or modern Tails' cheek tufts work. They stick straight out in the front of his face, not all the way back. However, this is pretty cool because they actually make the secondary cheek tufts that the Saturday morning cartoon had, by which I mean like they're in the perfect spot to be the secondary cheek tufts. So all I had to do was sculpt on the primary cheek tufts in front of them. I also made the much larger nose. I sculpted the entire head to be larger and rounder, which had the bonus of making the ears shorter, because in the Saturday morning cartoon, Tails did have smaller ears, and his little bangs, which look less like bangs and more like a cowlick just sticking off the side of his head. So with all those factors combined, it creates a head that's much more accurate to his appearance from the cartoon, and uses parts from a regular Tails head. Like, it would have been a real pain to sculpt these double tufts, is what I'm saying. So I'm just happy I was able to cheat and find somewhere where I could get at least one set of tufts. So with a proper paint job, we have Tails' head, and I don't know, it just kind of looks a little bit doofy. I'm really not used to seeing Tails this way because it's like I don't think they ever made a toy of him like this. Like, even like I said, my birthday cake topper used a sculpt that was very similar to this, but it still used the colors from the video game. So like, there never really was, as far as I'm aware, any kind of merchandise that featured a cartoon-accurate Tails figure. Until today, of course. And so, there he is, little SATAM Tails. So, of course, the articulation is simplified, just like any other classic figure. He has little ball joints on his shoulders, which give him quite a range, and little wrist swivels, just like the original Mega figure had. The head can rotate on a swivel, and the feet rotate from the hips, but they don't go forwards and backwards. It's a very simple little thing. When you stand it next to a Tomy classic Sonic figure, the height is about right. He's just slightly shorter than Sonic. Although, like, I feel the proportions are a little bit off, but I really couldn't think of anything else to do. Like I said, this is really the only torso of this style that is the proper shape. If I tried to use a classic Tails, it would have come out too tall, and if I tried to use Tomy's modern Tails, then the proportions would have been off in the other way, but I don't really know. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for my next figure. This is Wake Angel 2001, signing off.